We'll open up to questions for Coach.
Hey James, you've talked a lot about the tackles for loss and the sacks. Why? Why has it been so good the second half of the season? And I know you like to say a combination of things. So, like, what are the top 2 or 3 reasons?
I think the biggest thing is one of the differences with with Manny is in the past, whether it was Bob or whether it was Brent, we were more gap control. So we would take on a half a man and basically play through a man into our gap, where we're more vertical pressure, more gap control by getting vertical through the gap, which allows you obviously to be more disruptive. And as our guys got more and more comfortable with that, you've been playing a certain way for a long time, and you start to play a little bit more confident within the scheme and what we're teaching them to do, and trusting in that. Then opportunities for negative yardage plays. I mean, you could just, from a common sense approach, if I'm playing into Mark rather than shooting inside of Mark, obviously you got a chance to penetrate, create negative plays and tackles for loss. But every single guy better be doing their job, because if you create vertical seams and not everybody is in their gap, then you obviously can also put yourself in a position to give up a big play. So we're more consistent across the board with playing within the scheme and playing fast and aggressive. And if you're a defensive player, specifically a defensive lineman or a linebacker, I can't imagine there's a more productive system to play in. So that's the other positive from this. Not only do our guys get an opportunity to make plays, but it's attractive to the recruits coming in, the type of defense we play.
James, you mentioned earlier this. You had mentioned in the past with Uncle Carter that you like seeing moving Mike down the line. How do you evaluate when someone's kind of ready to do that from the communicatory standpoint of having to call the defense and everything like that?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a short-term thing. What I'm saying is, I think I could see that in his future. Obviously, with 2 young players that are coming on for us at Mike linebacker right now, I don't know if that's necessarily needed, but obviously the more things that you can do, the better. I could see this spring our Mike's taking some reps and getting some work at Will, and I could see some of our Wills getting some work at Mike linebacker. So we'll see how that all plays out. I do think it gives a better understanding of the defense and allows Manny and us to have a little bit more moving parts. So now you're in a situation where you're just saying, okay, let's get the next best linebacker on the field. Mike's a little tricky though. It's almost like you gotta live in that world full time, because there's just a lot on that guy's plate. But you never know what the future holds.
Earlier this summer, or earlier this season, Kobe talked about getting into meditation over the pandemic. He said there were advantages that actually serve him well in the field, being calm, staying in the moment. That cerebral approach, how much is that something that you see in practice and games, and that maybe you can attribute to the success he's had this season?
Yeah, I can't really speak on that because I was unaware of it. Obviously, Adriana Napolitano does a great job for us. I hope I just said her name. Oh, did I? Good. Does a really good job in working with our guys with whether it's mindfulness or whatever it is, and they kind of all use different approaches to help with it. Some guys embrace it more than others, but I can't speak on that because I was unaware that he was doing it to the level you're talking about.
James, we saw Donald out there on the practice field today. Last week when we talked to Taylor said that he's been a great resource to just kind of talk shop, I guess. What is it like having him as a resource and being able to have someone with his track record out there to just be around and be a presence?
Well, he's not around. I mean, they don't live here. They live outside of Dallas. But they were here today. We had a bunch of parents here today. You didn't talk about any of the other parents.
I didn't see any of them on the field though.
Gotcha. Obviously, with his football background, he can kind of navigate the field and know where to go and where to be and those types of things. But it's just a parent at practice. Obviously, he's got a different experience, and obviously talking to our team and things like that. Whether it's as a player or whether it's Super Bowl or as a businessman, he's done a great job in a lot of different areas. So we've had a bunch of different parents with different backgrounds. And, the only difference with him is obviously it's correlated strongly, obviously, with what we do day in and day out.
James, big picture wise, what would it mean to the Big Ten to finally get 2 teams into the college football playoff? And are you aware of the debates about whether or not the loser of the Ohio State-Michigan game belongs in that scenario?
Yeah, I'm aware. There's a lot of things like other teams being in the top 10. There's a lot of things that I think the Big Ten should be pounding the table and promoting, like the other conference does. I've been in that conference. I know they are pounding the table and promoting through a lot of different resources. So yeah, I'm aware of what's going on, but I'm focusing my energy on beating Michigan State and playing well, and hopefully that takes care of itself. But I got a lot of things I could say right now, but it's probably not appropriate.
We saw Drew eat it out there, which is part of practice, but how do you balance the repetition and the bubble wrapping? I mean, how do you use the next month to get him more prepared, but at the same time, are diligent about what he means for your future?
Yeah, I think you got to be smart and strategic about how you practice and what you do. But I don't think you can kind of live the way you described it. You got to be strategic, and you got to have a plan. And obviously you don't want to take on more risk with any of our guys than needed. There's some risk involved in our game. There always will be. And you gotta whether it's practice or games or whatever it may be, all of those risks have to be factored in. So whether you're going full speed, whether you're going live, whether you're going thud, whether you're going tag off, whatever it may be, all those things kind of factor in for all our guys at really every position. And after that, you just kind of live with it. You'll drive yourself crazy if you're trying to do that. And not only that, you won't get the guys prepared the way they need to be.
How would you evaluate PJ's season, 11 games in, coming back from injury?
Yeah, really good. He's been great. I just got done talking to him. I think this group of captains has been as good as we have had. They've been really good. And I'm not talking about just what's happened on the game field. I'm talking about the stuff away from the field, in the meeting room, Saturday night when the coaches aren't around. They've been really good, and PJ's had as good of a season when you combine those two things as a player and a leader for us. Has been awesome.
Hey James, what did you learn spending time with John Schaefer last weekend?
So I don't know if I would say anything kind of specific. To be honest with you, I don't get as much time with these guys as I would like. Friday night I was out recruiting, and that's when most of the time was spent with those guys. So I got a chance to spend some time with them at dinner. But I think more than anything for me, it was just a really good example of how many impressive, proud Letterman and alumni that we have out there that I think are a really good resource for the players, for our staff, and it's something that I think we need to continue to tap into and invest. And I know he was glad to be back and around as well. But he's an impressive guy. He's got an impressive resume. He was great with us as a staff. He was great with the players. So to me, it was just a reminder of how many really impressive Lettermen and alumni that we have out there. And that's one of our strengths. When you got one of the largest alumni bases, in the world, that's an obvious strength of ours. And we need to be tapping into it. And there's so many things that we can use as a resource, whether it's internships, whether it's him talking to the team, whether it's his experiences, life after football. It was really good to spend time. And I think what we have found is the guys that have come back and been around and given the new regime a chance. It's been I think a real positive relationship in both directions. We've really enjoyed it. and I think they have as well. I think for him, I know he talked about how it just brought back a bunch of really good memories. So it's a shame that this is the first time I really have spent time with him, but I thought it was a real positive.
It looks like Kevon Lee was back out there practicing today. Could he return this week, and how big of a boost would that be for the running back room?
Yeah, we'll see. We'd love to have him back. Those are medical decisions. I think it'll be more of a game time decision and things like that. There's been some weeks where we thought he was going to be back. It hasn't played itself out that way, so we're just waiting for the medical staff and to get the full clear go from the medical staff and Kiva.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Oh!
Now, if you throw it out, you have to do it at least when you get
No,
through
no,
the
no.
door.
I am not doing that, I swear.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, thank you. You guys too. Thank you.